Hello everybody, this is Mr. Bird. I hope you're doing well. We're going to look at Module 2, Lesson number 9 in this lesson today. Before we get started, I want to welcome you to this lesson. A couple things to keep in mind is that we are going to be asking the question, how can writers use wordplay to develop a story's setting and characters? We've kind of talked about that in class, what wordplay is, and I think you all have a pretty good grasp of that. Now, what I want to do, we're going to take just a few minutes here, and I want you to pause the video if you need to, but on a piece of paper, I want you to list all the common everyday objects that you see in this painting. All right, so for example, there's a clock there, and that's all I'm going to tell you. So pause the video here and make a quick list of all the everyday objects that you see in each painting. All right, I'm going to assume that you've paused the video. You made your list of everyday objects that you see in the painting, and we're going to move along with our lesson here today. Okay, so the first thing I want to do in our launch is I want us to look at this question. Would anyone like to share examples of everyday objects that you noticed in the painting? Now, obviously, if you're watching this video, there may not be a chance for you to do that. If you're at home watching this, or if you're working with your friends, you can take a second here, pause the video again, share with a friend the things that you noticed. Okay, our framing question says, reveal. What does a deeper exploration of juxtaposition reveal in the painting? Now, I'll be honest with you, I had to look up the word juxtaposition just to kind of refresh my mind what it means. And what I found is that juxtaposition means to put things side by side. So that's what that means when you see that word. So let's dive into our lesson a little bit more. So we have our content framing. It says, are there any words in the content framing question that you're unfamiliar with? So my content framing question again is, what does a deeper exploration of juxtaposition reveal in the painting? Well, just as I showed you, I'm not real sure what that word juxtaposition means. Now, I see the word position in juxtaposition, so I'm able to think that maybe it has something to do with location or position of objects in the painting. And I kind of gave that away to you there a second ago, but it means to place things together or side by side in a piece of art. Okay, so you can impress your friends and your family and use the word juxtaposition in a sentence today. See what they do with that. Now, in this lesson, we're going to take a closer look at the two paintings to figure out what is going on in each painting, just as we have been working on figuring out what is happening in Norton Juster's novel, The Phantom Toll Booth. Okay, let me get my screen to move here. Oh, let's see. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, remember, when having academic conversations, whether as a whole group or in a small group, we have to remember that we should adapt our delivery or way of speaking to the purpose. So as you discuss this painting today, I want you to focus on speaking in a clear voice at understandable pace. Use formal English and choose precise words to express your ideas. And we'll talk about what does that mean. So let's move along just a bit here. Okay, surreal. All right, let me get a couple notes moved around on my side here. So we're looking at the word surreal. Are there any word parts in the word surreal that can help you determine the meaning of surreal? So I see the word real, and I see the prefix sur, S-U-R, like from surrender that we saw in Module 1 of Thunder Rolling in the Mountains. So maybe surreal has something to do with not being real. Let's look at our definition. Surreal is a noun. The meaning is bizarre, weird, or eerie, having a dreamlike quality. Okay, so the other half of his face was stuck in the shadow, giving him a surreal appearance, as if he had one foot in a different world. Impressive. She heard the sound of the camera snapping pictures and began to think she had entered some surreal world. When we first examined these paintings in Lesson 1, we noticed the things that didn't make sense in that painting. Okay, so it's surreal. So something surreal that I noticed is, so I want you to think about this painting or those paintings that we looked at and think of something strange or some strange creature lying on the ground. Many of you pointed that out when we looked at the one with the clocks. You saw that thing on the ground, and some of you said it's a blanket. Others of you thought it was some kind of dead animal. Now, another surreal image I noticed is a train coming out of the fireplace. The ants in Dolly's paintings are surreal because they are swarming on an object that looks like a pocket watch. Now, we didn't notice that, but go back and look at the one with the clocks, and you'll see that there are ants on there. The artists of these paintings, Salvador Dali and Rene Magritte, I believe I'm pronouncing those names, were part of a group of artists called Surrealists. The Surrealist movement began in Europe in the 1920s, and many of them lived in Paris. So you can ask your art teacher, what does it mean to be surreal? What kind of painting? Surreal literally means above reality, and that surrealists were inspired by dreams. Like writers who play with words, surrealists like to put objects together in surprising or unusual ways. At a time when photography was a new technology for capturing reality, many of these artists wanted to convey their own unique vision which could not be represented in photographs. So I want you to look at handout 9A. We're going to go through that one in just a minute. We're going to analyze a painting. So here's 9A, and we're going to look at that in just a second. So let's see what we need to do. It says, for each painting, answer the questions in the chart below. So I want you to take a second and look at it. What everyday objects, and go ahead if you need to, you can pause and look at your worksheet and answer these questions. What everyday objects do you see in the painting? How have these everyday objects been changed to seem surreal or dreamlike? How does the arrangement or placement of the objects make them appear surreal? And what do you notice about the figures in the center or on the ground? So take a second, fill those out, and I'll collect those next time I see you. Okay? All right, we're not going to work in a small group on this, but so for sake of time here, we're going to move a little bit. So I see clocks that are flopped and folded over, looking like they're melting, which doesn't happen in reality, perhaps only in dreams. I noticed a rectangular prism in the middle of the desert, which doesn't seem realistic. I see a train in midair steaming out of a fireplace. Okay? So how does the arrangement or placement of objects make them appear surreal? There are clocks melting over the tree branches, a rectangular prism, and some sort of hill or blanket in the middle of the painting. There's a dead tree growing out of a box. So I'll let you read the screen here to yourself, and you'll see that some of these things that they're pointing out from the painting is not like anything we've ever seen, and you probably have to have some kind of dream to see these things. Now, what do you notice about the figure in the center of the ground? We've talked about that one before. All right. So what do you notice about that figure? It looks like it might be a horse or maybe a donkey lying on its side. It looks like it has a nose and eyelashes. I notice that it's tan and that it would appear to be lying over rocks, but I'm really not sure what it is yet. Okay? So how does this painting depict a surreal scene? Now remember, juxtaposition in a work of art refers to how artists paint things close together or side by side. When we were organizing what was happening in the painting, we noticed how the arrangements of the object made the image seem surreal. Now you will look at the arrangement of the object more closely and think about how those objects compare or contrast and why the artist might have chosen to put them together. Okay, so we can see on 9A there's ants in a pocket watch, clock and creatures, profile, rectangular prism, clock folded over the tree branches, train in a fireplace, mirror and fireplace, train and a clock. So we want to record those on 9A. All right, so I'm going to move a little bit here. Think, pair, share. That just means to talk with your partner. So just as artists like Magritte and Dali play with images to achieve certain effects in their art, writers like Norton Juster play with words to convey certain ideas in their writing. So we talked about in the last lesson what a snapshot is. How does a snapshot of a Juster-like setting work? A snapshot in writing is blank. Okay. Now, the pieces of a writing is a snapshot of images or imaginary place called abandon. While abandon is not a place that actually appears in Juster's kingdom of wisdom, the writer imagined an episode in which Milo visits abandon, capturing it here in this snapshot. Okay, so given what you know about how Norton Juster plays with a place name in the story, what can you expect to find in the snapshot of Abandon? So we're going to be reading about a place called Abandon, and right here on 9B, it says, read the setting, snapshot, welcome to Abandon. Then reread and annotate sensory language the writer uses to help visualize the images imaginary place called Abandon. So you're going to mark on your paper there on 9B and just tell me which words indicate here. You're going to use which one helps us to see with a S, here with a H, SM with smell, T for taste, and F for feel or touch. Now silently read the piece entitled Welcome to Abandon. Then reread the piece, annotating sensory language the writer uses to help readers visualize the place called Abandon. All right, so use these symbols. You'll do that on 9B. So I'm going to pop up a few here. You can look at those. The writer of the piece modeled this snapshot of Abandon after some of Norton Juster's settings in the Phantom Tollbooth, meaning the writer turned the word and the idea of abandon into an actual place that reflects the meaning of the word. So what do you think the word abandon means based on the writer's description of the town of Abandon in this snapshot? I think abandon means to give up or quit. Abandon might mean to stop something in the middle of doing it. So how do you see the meaning of the word abandon reflect in this description of the town and its people? Underline or highlight details that help you determine the meaning of abandon. Okay, so I'm going to let you highlight some of these points. I have them there for you on the screen. You can go through and highlight that in your text. Okay, abandon is a verb. It means to leave something or someone abruptly with no intention of returning. An example is quit, desert, forsake, or give up. All right. Just past the center of town, Milo and Talk passed a building whose sign read in peeling paint, Abandoned Elementary School. If at first you don't succeed, you might as well give up. Now, given what you know about how the writer is playing with the word abandon, what else might Milo and Talk notice about Abandoned Elementary School? All right, so I'm going to skip through this real quick because my time is short. All right, so I want you in your journal or on your piece of paper write 3 or 4 of your own sentences to describe Abandoned Elementary School using description and sensory language. Aim to include details that appeal to at least 2 different scenes. When you finish, annotate your writing using the symbols for sensory language. All right, that's all I got for today. I'm going to see here. I'm going to move past some of these things. All right. So in your journal, I want you to write 3 things that could be considered surreal about these paintings, 2 surprising juxtapositions that you noticed, and then 1 takeaway or understanding